African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of November 4, 2025. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation. Units of the North Troop Group inflicted defeat on formations of 3 mechanized, an assault regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and 2 territorial defense brigades in the areas of the settlements Alexiivka, Andriivka, Proletarskoye, Novaya Sek, and Korchakovka in the Sumy region. In the Kharkiv direction, defeat was inflicted on units of mechanized and motorized infantry brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements Simelnikovo and Volchansk in the Kharkiv region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine lost up to 225 servicemen, 12 vehicles, and a field artillery gun. A radio-electronic reconnaissance station, 3 ammunition depots, and 4 supply depots were destroyed. Units of the West Troop Group improved their tactical position. Defeat was inflicted on personnel and equipment of 3 mechanized and airmobile assault brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and 2 National Guard brigades in the areas of the settlements Petropavlovka, Kurilovka, Bogoslavka, Novoplatinovka, Druzlyabovka, Borovskaya and Andriivka in the Kharkiv region, Novoselovka, Stavky, and Yereveya in the Donetsk People's Republic in the area of the settlement Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region. Units of the 6th Army continue to tighten the encirclement ring of the enemy group. Another attempt of a counterattack by units of the 1st National Guard Brigade in the area of the settlement Petrovka in the Kharkiv region to break through to the Oskol River and ensure the exit of encircled Ukrainian units from the left bank was thwarted. Up to 10 militants and an armored vehicle were destroyed. The tightening of the encirclement ring of the enemy group from the northeast. Units of the South Troop Group occupied more advantageous lines and positions. Defeat was inflicted on formations of 2 mechanized assault brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a Marine Brigade, a National Guard Brigade, and a Territorial Defense Brigade in the areas of the settlements Drushkovka, Konstantinovka, Seversk, Zvanovka, Ivanopoli, Janovka, Fedorovka, Verolyubovka, and Vasyukovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost up to 105 servicemen, 4 combat armored vehicles, 11 vehicles, and 6 field artillery guns. 3 radio-electronic warfare stations, a supply depot, and a fuel depot were destroyed. Units of the Center Troop Group improved their position along the front line. Defeat was inflicted on personnel and equipment of 4 mechanized, Ranger, Airmobile, Airborne Assault brigades, 2 assault regiments of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a Marine Brigade, a Territorial Defense Brigade, and a National Guard Brigade in the areas of the settlements Prya, Belitskoye, Suketskoye, Rodinskoye, Novopavlovka, Kedlino, Udaknoye, Lenino in the Donetsk People's Republic, and Demurino in the Dnipropetrovsk region. In the settlement of Krasnoarmysk in the Donetsk People's Republic, assault groups of the 2nd and 51st Armies continued the destruction of encircled formations of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In the residential area of the Prigorodny microdistrict, 4 buildings were liberated. In the eastern part of the Central District, 31 buildings in the private sector were liberated. Units of the East Troop Group advanced deep into the enemy's defense. Defeat was inflicted on formations of a mechanized brigade, an assault regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Egorovka, Vishnevoye, Radisnoye in the Dnipropetrovsk region, and Uspanovka in the Zaporizhia region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine lost over 240 servicemen, 20 vehicles, 2 artillery guns, and 5 radio-electronic warfare stations. Units of the Dnepr Troop Group inflicted defeat on personnel and equipment of mechanized, mountain assault brigades, a coastal defense brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Mali Sherbaki in the Zaporizhia region, Poniatovka, Sadavoy, Nikolskoye, and Antonovka in the Kherson region. up to 80 servicemen, a combat armored vehicle, 8 vehicles, 2 field artillery guns, 7 radio-electronic warfare stations, an ammunition depot, a fuel depot, and 3 supply depots were destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the Russian armed forces troop groups inflicted defeat on energy and transport infrastructure facilities supporting the operation of enterprises of the Ukrainian military-industrial complex, an artillery shell production workshop, a fuel depot, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 152 districts. Air defense means shot down 3 guided aerial bombs, a HIMARS multiple launch rocket system rocket produced in the USA, and 204 aircraft-type unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the start of the special military operation, destroyed 668 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 94,936 unmanned aerial vehicles, 635 surface-to-air missile systems, 25,837 tanks and other combat armored vehicles, 1,609 combat vehicles of multiple launch rocket systems, 31,065 field artillery guns and mortars, 45,800 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.